Hi everyone, and welcome to this Map Mavin case study. We are going to be looking at fire mitigation, and I'll jump into that in just a second. But for those of you who haven't yet heard one of our case studies, these are essentially examples of how Map Mavin can be applied in the real world, whether in government or the private sector, or just for fun. So stay tuned, and let's jump right into this one. A little bit of a background on fire mitigation in Colorado and in general. Colorado is mostly populated along the Front Range, and I'll open up this map and then we'll take a step back after. But as I give my little spiel here, it is mostly populated along what's called the Front Range, so the eastern slope of the Rocky Mountains, and you can see that. So let me go ahead and turn that layer off, or sorry, you'll see that it's very populated here in Boulder, and then it kind of just immediately thins out, and that's because right along this line is where the mountains and true topography really rises up out of the plains, which are this way to the east. And because of that, you have this densely populated area and then this very open area with lots of flammable material. And that obviously poses a huge risk for fires, especially for these people who, up here, you'll see it's not as densely populated, who have chosen to live in the forest. So just something general to keep in mind as we look, and I'll actually show you some satellite imagery as well in a moment here, but wilderness for the most part, densely populated area. And there's not much stopping fires coming down from up here, where they often occur naturally from lightning or from man-made causes as well. There's not much stopping them from making their way down the hill and to this very densely populated center of town here. So obviously fire mitigation and fire management is a huge issue in Colorado and anywhere for that matter where you have a large area of wilderness abutting a major urban center. So first, let's take a look at how I actually made this. And in case you're a little lost here as I go through this, we're making a map as if we were the fire department, or a fire department rather, in Boulder County. There are many, and you'll see that in a sec here. But we're making a map that the fire department would make for its community to have a better understanding of which districts they're in and where they can take debris or shrub that they've trimmed and get it chipped. So if you have a pretty rural lot, you often will trim the shrubbery in your acreage and then take it to a wood chipping center or compost center because you don't want to just leave piles and piles of flammable material on your property, of course, in the event that a fire does come closer to your home. But it can be confusing. I mean, a lot of these areas are very rural, and you might not necessarily know where to go, which district you're in, etc. So we made this map quite simply because a lot of this information is publicly available. So I added the fire response areas layer that I got from the County of Boulder, and that shows you where the fire districts are and which where the stations are within them. And sorry, I misspoke there in just a little way. The fire stations are actually a separate layer that I've added as well. So by overlaying these two, you get a sense for where the fire station is for each district and then the bounds of each district. Lastly, I added building footprints so that you can see where an exact building lies in respect to its district, how far it is from the station, and how far it is from a road. So I added these three to the map, and I went ahead and we'll just take a look behind the map real quick. I went ahead and put the footprint on top of this transparent fire response areas layer so that it would not be made more dark by the somewhat opaque fire response areas layer. I've then gone ahead and made the Boulder County Fire Stations dots bright orange so that you can't miss them. And I've just kept a general base map on here with roads, but as we actually go into the map, I'll show you what it looks like with satellite imagery, so you can see that dramatic contrast between the wild areas and the urban areas. So now that we've clicked the little eye icon, we can actually see what the map is going to look like. We'll exit editing here, and this is what anyone on the public side would see. That is, of course, assuming you give them editing privileges. So when you give your users editing privileges, they'll have this little pencil icon, and you have the option to turn that off so it's read only as well. But for this case study, we'll keep it on. So first and foremost, we'll click each of these to turn them completely off so you can see Boulder. And this is our Apollo Bright base map that we've made ourselves. So let's go ahead and use Digital Globe's global base map. And you'll get a better feel for just what that area really looks like here. All right, and you might have noticed that I have the option for recent satellite imagery, recent labeled, and then just satellite. And while Colorado is pretty dry and you're not going to see much of a difference, the difference between those layers in generally cloudy areas or cloudier areas is pretty dramatic at times. And the reason we have them is because obviously you want the most recent satellite imagery, but in an area that's been, that's consistently cloudy, you might need to go farther back. So in a place like, say, Colombia or Venezuela, the recent satellite imagery layer will be more recent, but it might not be as cloud-free, so you're given both options. We'll go ahead and slowly turn these layers on. So first we'll do building footprints, and you'll see that pop up here, and you can see just how quickly everything turns from truly city to absolutely rural. Those are all pine trees, of course very flammable. Then we'll turn on fire response areas so you can see which district each area of town and of the county lies in. And lastly, we'll turn on fire stations. So let's go ahead and look up here in the foothills, and you'll see, okay, here's a home, road, fire station in this district. We're given, you can click in the district, it'll tell you, okay, this is in the Boulder Mountain Fire District. You see there's another district over here. This is just Boulder Fire in general. And then what's this one? Boulder Mountain Fire as well. Sunshine Fire over here. So there's several districts. You can go ahead and click the buildings. I don't think there's a ton of information behind that, but you could add that if you wanted. In fact, let's go ahead and do that. So let's say I remodeled this home here, or rather it was remodeled, and I, as the fire department, am now aware of the fact that it's been remodeled. We click it, click the edit button, and I can click that home, and I can actually change it to reflect where it is now, stretching it out, and then I can click save. I can also add attributes to it, and if I wanted to, I could go into the attribute table itself and make some changes manually by typing into that attribute table. I'm not going to go ahead and do that, but I want to make sure that you knew exactly where that's at. So I've made the building a little longer, and it reflects where it is now. Maybe the satellite imagery is a little old, and I know that we've moved the building out to the east with the remodel. We've updated that so everyone is on the same page for fire mitigation. And I have my station here, but I want to know, or rather let the public know, where they can get to the nearest wood chipping center. So let's go ahead and do that. We will go back here and we'll add a blank layer. So layer, create layer, we'll call it wood chipping centers, Boulder County. Make it new blank layer. Oh. And click submit. finish. And then we will add that to our existing map simply by going to the map and clicking edit. You then click select layers. Your available layers that you've uploaded will, or just create it as blank, as is the case, this one will show up. It's now on. Finish. We're good to go. And then we'll go back to that map. Now we have this new layer, and we were over, I believe we were right here. Yep, and we were, because there's that building that I extended. And of course, I'm being hypothetical here. I'm not exactly sure where a shipping center would be, but you get the general idea. We'll go ahead and click edit, and then we will add a new point. So let's say it's right here on the intersection of Linden Drive and Timber Lane. Point added, and we'll say Linden Shipping Center, and then description 1000 Linden Drive. Alright, so it's there now. You can click it, you'll get that information, and you can keep going on and adding all the ones you want. You can easily change it, and the best part is you actually can give permission to people to just read it, but also give other people the permission rather, to edit it. So you can give other people in your department or in the city or county the ability to add as you go. You can also drag that to the top, and it'll look a little bit better. Here, see it? You'll see I had it below building footprints, and now we'll have it on the very top so it really stands out. The better application, not better, but another very useful tool that we have built in here is the ability to actually mark up a map. So I've already made an actual feature, but maybe I just want to bring someone's attention to this area so they know, okay, these 8 or 9 structures here are all going to be going to this shipping center. That's just how we've set it up. Each shipping center has a certain zone, and that zone isn't necessarily reflective of the entirety of the fire district. Maybe there's several shipping centers within them, but we know that these homes are all served by this one. And again, I'm talking in the hypothetical here, but really just showcasing when you would be able to use something like Map Mavin for this scenario and how easy it is to do it. So rather than adding actual polygons or points or lines like we just did with a new layer, we can add a markup polygon. So we'll say that these homes are all serviced by that wood chipping center. I could then also add markup text, markup points and lines, move the shape, etc. And I can add them to a workspace, and I can have several workspaces. So what that means is I can have this workspace, which we'll call Linden Wood Chip Layer 1. And then maybe I want to have a separate one that highlights another center, and then you can have an entirely different workspace that will show something like, say, fire roads. And you'll see that that disappeared. So maybe on this one, I'm just letting people know which of the actual roads in this neighborhood are accessible for the fire trucks and which ones are too precarious for them to go up. I can also stylize that. So that was a little thin. We'll go ahead and change the color on it and make it bigger. So now you can definitely see it, but you don't see those polygons from before. But we can go ahead and turn that on. Okay, you have those two. I go back. I can delete those. And these aren't real polygons. These are just essentially whiteboarding. If you if you can think of it that way. So it's more a really good way of getting everyone quite literally on the same page. So you have that ability as well as the ability to truly make new layers like we did earlier. And lastly, before we go here, I want to show you this feature that I think really makes us unique and particularly valuable for something like community collaboration. That is our screen share feature. So I could click on here, join screen share, and I can actually make these markups like I mentioned or make edits, and anyone else who joins screen share will see me moving the screen, and that will be reflected on their screen. They'll see these polygons made on their screen as well, and then they can actually take over with their mouse and do the same. So you could have an unlimited number of people on here and really get everyone on board with whatever it is you're up to in terms of community collaboration, so that rather than exchanging an absurd number of PDFs or screenshots, you can say, hey, we're going to be working in this area, zoom in, or we're looking at this building and seeing how long it'll take to get the shrubbery around here down to here to the wood chipping center, which wood chipping center applies to this area, or whatever the case may be. And everyone who joins in here will see it. If they don't see it, I can let them know with a chat, and that will show up in everyone's screen. So there you have it. Just one of the many applications for Map Mavin. Lastly, I can of course share this map with a URL or a direct invitation to their inbox or into their Map Maven account if they already have one. They don't need to be paying to read the map. You can share it in a view-only format with anyone with a simple link, as I just mentioned, and regardless of whether they're a true user or just being shared with, it will be lightning fast every time and easier than we think any other solution out there. So there you have it, fire mitigation in Boulder County. Thanks.